What's up, everybody? Welcome to another YouTube Hangout. Super excited to be here with an old friend, but a new friend to the channel. Haven't had her on before. Her name is Irene Becker. She runs a coaching company, Just Coach It, that you can check out, justcoachit.com. And she wanted to interview me for her blog, and I said, let's do it. But how about we turn it into a YouTube Hangout so you guys could benefit from the exchange as well. Irene, welcome aboard.
Thank you, Evan. I am so thrilled to be here.
Look at that energy. I love it. I love the energy. Okay, so quickly.
Lover of your book. Sorry.
Oh, thank you. No, before getting into interviews and all that, maybe just a quick introduction, like what you do for my audience that's watching to learn a little bit more about Irene Becker.
Okay, my practice is an executive coaching, career, and personal coaching practice that developed after a significant business career and a lot of challenges that helped me to realize that change isn't the problem, it's the answer. And that we have to develop a new relationship with change, challenges, even failures that helps us lead. And that model became the passion of my life. I did a couple of coaching, well, 3 coaching certifications, and
Great. And so you wanted to interview me for your blog, and so there's some great content on there that you guys can check out. I think we've linked it up in the description. So over to you, Irene. Whatever questions you have, let's do it.
Okay, Evan Carmichael, you are such a source of energy and commitment. And I remember many years ago when we met, I speak at an Indigo, and there was a chap there. I said, you know, is Evan Carmichael here? And he said, Evan Carmichael helps entrepreneurs. Part of your tribe. And you're still doing it. And you know what? I mean, I did a biotech company at 19, right? You became a venture capitalist. Somewhere in between there, you graduated from university.
Yeah.
Read something else saying that you work 20 hours a week. You have set 2 world records. I help 1 billion entrepreneurs. But you know what? I don't have a doubt that you've set 2 world records. And 20 Evan hours might be like 60 hours for someone else.
Yeah.
Where you get all your drive, and what inspired you to write the book?
So I get my drive from my big why and my little why. And the big why is I believe entrepreneurs will solve all the world's problems. You know, it's a consistent message. I think it's not going to be our government, and it's not going to be the big corporations. It's going to be entrepreneurs. And if I can have, you know, a small role in helping entrepreneurs do their thing, you know, I can't solve cancer. I don't have the tools, the know-how to be able to do it. But if I can inspire the entrepreneur to go and do that, that's major change. And if I can do that 1 billion times, that's massive change. And so that's my big why, my big goal. The little why is just the daily stuff that comes in. It's talking to you. It's getting comments on my YouTube channel. It's the daily feedback from an individual who says, I love your videos. It changed me. It had an impact. I rely on them daily. You know, so it's the big of helping tons of people and creating, you know, world change, but also the little of the individual person who is getting inspired and being pushed by the stuff that I make. And so that carries responsibility for me daily to be able to do more and push harder and reach my potential to be able to help people. And it drives me on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm. Well, contribution is such a tremendous driver, and it fits in with one of the anchors in my model, SQ. I mean, can you really go the distance without having contribute, without having a purpose that's greater than just making a living?
Can you? I don't know. Do I want to? No. So it's an easy question.
You don't.
I think it's a lot more fulfilling. I think you can have some success maybe without a bigger purpose, but it's hollow, and you see people then get upset, you know, or you see people who reach the top but then kill themselves. You know, they're not actually truly happy.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I definitely don't want a life like that, and I try to encourage the people who are watching my content to do work that's meaningful to you and fulfills you.
No, you want to adapt, evolve, and thrive. And I remember Tony Robbins said something about success, and that the most unsuccessful person is a person who's successful and unfulfilled. That's the worst thing you can be.
Right.
Because on one hand, you've accomplished so much. On the other hand, you've accomplished nothing. I want to read something that you wrote because I think it's so great.
All right.
Doing is right. Follow your passion. Do it because you meant to do it, not just to make money. Believe that you can achieve it. Have the confidence to know whether you think you can or can't achieve it. You're right. Believe that it will happen. Have the conviction to follow through. Trust that even if you only see darkness around you, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I believe in entrepreneurs. That's why I created this website. I believe in you. Make something remarkable. Believe. And I want to cry. It's so profound on so many levels. And your one word is believe.
Yeah.
To me, pick one word. I didn't think I could do it.
Nice. I like it. They're like they're sister words there. Believe and inspire.
They are. Well, I want to hear about one word because when I picked it up, Evan, I mean, there's so much I'd like to hear about, but we're only here for a limited period of time. I mean, your whole goal of 1 billion entrepreneurs and your optic that entrepreneurs will change the world, I couldn't agree with you more. I used to think that it would be large corporations, but heading.
Yeah, and you listen, I think there, you know, as I say that, I realize it's massive disrespect towards governments and towards corporations. And I think there is positive, there's, you know, my family is government oriented. My mom used to be in politics. And so talking about that, you know, makes her unhappy. You know, governments make the laws and all that stuff. And I think there's definitely a role, but it's like, what I don't like is a culture of blame where I'm blaming the president or the prime minister for my lack of success, right? Or I'm blaming the corporations for not doing X, Y, Z, right? Where I think people just should take more responsibility and say, you don't like something, go create it, go make it. And entrepreneurs are not the only way to do it, but it's my favorite way, and so it's what I lean in on. And I think when you find your one word, I think a lot of people, I think most people are walking around feeling like they have more potential than what they're doing right now. I think most people...
Either that or they're numb.
Yeah, I mean, well, some people may be like rock bottom. Some people may be feeling terrible. Everything sucks. My life is over. But, you know, that's maybe not most people. But I think most people feel like they have more potential inside them. They could be doing more, and they don't know how to go out and do it. And that was a struggle that I had. I had a successful business. I had fulfillment, but I just felt like I could do more. I know I could do more. Like there's another gear that I'm missing. And that's where the idea of the one word came in. I didn't know it at the time. I didn't think, okay, the answer is one word. I got to figure this out. It was through a journey of self-discovery. But really, the idea is if you understand what your single most important core value is, we're a human being. You have values. Some of them are more important than others. If you figure out what the most important one is for you, then you can start to live a life on purpose, with intention, with meaning, as opposed to just reacting to what other people are throwing at you or living somebody else's version of your life. And so,
and that's what.
Yep. No, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. No. So if you like, if inspires you one word, then you start to look at, as soon as you find it, you start to look at your entire life. Like your business, your entire life, and say, okay, how does inspire relate? You know, so okay, if you look at a marketing perspective for a business, you know, if I hit your website, am I going to be inspired? You know, if you're doing interviews like this, you're writing blog posts, is it going to be inspirational to people? You know, is the content that you're going to write something you want to show your grandkids and say, here's something to be inspired by? You look at it then from an operations point of view of, I'm bringing on a team, right? So, you know, you want to hire a copywriter for your website. They better be somebody who believes in inspiring people, right? Like if somebody says, yeah, Irene, I'm a great copywriter, but you know, this inspire thing you have going on, it's a little cheesy, you know, like I'm not buying. It's like, great. Like we won't work well together,
you know what,
right?
Evan,
Yeah.
I got to tell you, every client I've had different types of coaching has always said to me, and audiences, Irene, you inspired me. And I've never wanted to use that word. Are a lot of cheesy implications, but when I read your book, I realized that that's really my word.
Yeah,
Important. And it should reflect everything in my life. And I think that what was so powerful about your book is that it's a book for everyone who wants to live their best life, whether they're an entrepreneur or they're a corporate citizen or they're, in professional services. It speaks to something that's so profound and something that most people don't get to till they turn 50. What is the purpose of your life? What is the meaning? People don't ask that. We function on autopilot. Your book is instrumental on so many levels. Plus the advice it gives, practical advice, insightful advice to entrepreneurs.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you saying that. I mean, it was designed to, one, be easy to read. Like every page is, you could stop anywhere. So it's not, I hate those books that you have to read 50 pages before you get to an end of a chapter and you kind of forgot where you were. And, but two, that it's applicable to, like, it's practical. Entrepreneurs, we don't have a lot of time. We're busy. We're doing everything. We're the CEO to the janitor. And so I wanted to make it practical, relevant, timely. It was out of my own search, my own quest. I went around North America and I found different businesses, from a $50,000 guy who just got started to $500,000 business, $1 million business, $5 million business, and $150 million business. All of these people, all these entrepreneurs built a business around their one word. And I wanted to find out, how did you do it? Like, this is interesting. I never heard of this concept before. I wish somebody wrote a blueprint on how to do this, right? It's like, okay, well, how about I go out and do it myself, right? And so everybody just kind of did it in their own way. And so I tried to pull all the lessons from them. How do they hire? How do they market? How do they research new ideas? How do they deal with clients? All of those things that then is in one simple kind of book to be able to go and apply it to. I don't touch a lot on the personal side of things, because I'm not a life coach. I don't have the training or the tools really to go through it. But figuring out your one word is hugely relevant in your life as well, right? So if it's inspire, if you're going to spend, your Saturday not work on the business, you're going to spend your Saturday with your family. You're going to go visit your mom. You're going to go, hang out with the kids or whatever it is. Waking up and say, like, I want this to be an inspired day. Like, what does that mean? It's not only it's not only a business context. Like, being inspired is not just about what you do in your career. It could be, I mean, your career is a big part of what you do, what I do, but it's not everything. And so I want to believe in my son. I want to pass on that message to him. I want him to believe in himself, and so if we're playing in the park, how do I make this a believe day? It's a question I ask myself. And then you're waking up and you're living that day with purpose and meaning, as opposed to, oh, what do you want to do today? Oh, okay, let's just go to the park. And you just kind of falling into life, as opposed to every day has purpose and meaning. And just imagine how different your life would be if for the next year you woke up and you decided that today is going to be a meaningful day. Like, you won't recognize your life a year from now if you take that approach every single morning.
Listen, I could not agree with you more. I've been in many circumstances where my life hung in the balance, Evan, and I really wake up every morning and say, life is a gift and a blessing. What am I going to learn today? What am I going to share today? What am I going to do today? And I think it's so critical. And I do believe that believe and inspire are cousins.
Yeah.
And I wondered, like, when did believe come to you?
So, I believe your one word.
Was there a pivotal,
I
there
believe
a pivotal experience?
So, I mean, I believe that the one word is something that you've always had and always will have. I mean, at what age does it come? I don't know. Does it come when you're 8? Does it come when you're 10, 3? I don't know. I've always had it. I think a lot of it comes from my parents. They taught me I was Evan Carmichael. I could do anything I want in the world. When I didn't do well on my report card, they would sit me down and not yell at me, but say, like, you're a Carmichael, you can do this. There's a reason why they're, like, that picture behind me on the wall is them. And I'm like 7 or 8 years old there with them. And so like I walk in and I see them every day. It's part of my kind of believe environment. How I discovered it was I just started thinking about, the things that made me come alive. My favorite movie is Seabiscuit. It's about this racehorse that is too small and a jockey that's too big and an owner that has no money, and they're in the Great Depression, and like somehow they all come together and they win a whole bunch of races. It's like the believe, like the underdog kind of story. And the songs that I like and the books that I read and the teachers that I like, it kept coming back. When I went through the exercises myself, I didn't have a blueprint to follow. There was no like, here's how to do it. I was actually just looking for a slogan for my website. I felt like I need a new tagline for my website. That was a start. And it ended up becoming something much bigger, and that I don't want just a tagline. I want something deep and meaningful. When I came down to believe, I thought it was too simple. I thought it was too big, too bold, too like, who am I to be believe, right? Like I need to be more niche and targeted. And it's interesting how often do we talk ourselves down from big ideas, from bold ideas, because we feel we're not adequate enough or not good enough, right? And so I tried to add more to it. Like the next day I looked at that and I tried to add more words to it. Believe in whatever. And I added like...
Oh, you made me feel better, because when I found inspire, I thought something has to go with that.
Yeah, I added to it. And then the more I looked at it, I just thought like, it's just believe. Like none of these other ones feel right. Believe just feels right. And there's often a tendency to think, well, it's not unique. Like Justin Bieber used Believe for his tour, and Cher had a song Believe, and Shamu the whale at SeaWorld had a show tour called Believe.
Really?
Right? It's like lots of people have used it, and that's okay. It's taking your own twist. That's why it becomes #Believe, because the hashtag represents something else to me. There's the common perception, but I'm going to bring my own uniqueness to it. And I think anytime you use, like, your one word should be bold, it should be powerful, it should be emotional. Something like inspire is fantastic. And there's always going to be some kind of stigma or a little bit of negativity, or there's always a perception around it. And that just means you've picked a really powerful word. And so it's on you now to do it justice. Like, what does inspire look like to you? And that may mean that there may be some really, like, as part of your credo, like the 3 things that make up the one word. One of them or 2 of them may be obvious, but there may be one that is not obvious to most people, but to you it makes sense. So like maybe consistency follows under inspired, and normally you wouldn't think about that, but to you consistency equals inspiration. And so like adding that level of clarity and depth then allows you to make those important decisions more easily.
Oh, I agree. I mean, I really, your book is a blueprint.
Yeah.
By everyone, more than entrepreneurs. And I want to know what's going to come after my word.
So word. Like, what's the next book?
My word.
It was a question like, what's the next book? Is that what you're asking? Like, what am I doing after this?
Next question. Yeah.
So here's the thing. I have a next book in mind, but I'm doing like a segue book in between. The next book that I want to write is going to be around the environment, habits, because what ends up happening is, okay, great. You found your one word of inspire. It doesn't mean that just because you found it that you're going to live it daily. No,
it doesn't.
And so many people start and stop and start and stop and start and stop. And I mean, you've seen it. You're the coach. This is why people come to you and they need your help, right? They don't stay consistent on things. And so your habits, your morning routines, your environment, the resources you consume, like all of that now should be through the lens of your one word, so that you get out of bed and you can fall into a day that is around that, as opposed to just not having a fantastic day. Like when I walk into my office and I see this on the wall, these 5 pictures are meaningless to most people, but for me,
but not to you. They're about believe.
And I don't have to think about, like, I don't have to wake up, okay, how is today going to be about believe? I don't need to plan. I just wake up, I come to the office, and instantly, like, I have to become it because it's in my environment. Right. And so that's the next book, the big book that I want to write to help people be consistent about it. There's just a ton of research that has to go into it. So I'm working on it. But the book that's coming.
What's interesting about consistency is we're also in an era where we need people to be cognitively adaptable. Consistent, but you need to be able to adapt, evolve, and thrive.
Sure.
And I think that your book, blueprint for so many people, and it's such a joy to read. I'm reading it again for the second time.
Cool.
There were some. Yeah, it's great.
There's one story that I would pay particular attention to. It's a tiny story in there, but it's Maria Rodale, who I think is 1 or 2 pages in there. It's not a lot, but I think it's impactful. She's in charge of Rodale's Publishing. They're like the largest independent publishing company in the U.S., like $500 million company, something like that. Her one word is love. And when she first found it, she thought, love, it's stupid, it's so girly, it's like typical woman to have love, you know, like I can't tell people on my team that I'm about love. This, and she kept it to herself as opposed to actually living it. And then they did a deal with Howard Schultz, who's the guy behind me here, who started Starbucks. And he came out and he said his one word was love. And when he did that, she felt like it gave her permission to say that hers was too, and that it wasn't stupid, and that she should embrace it and not just keep it as this tight ball inside her, but like unleash the energy. And it's a family business that she, you know, his grandfather started it, her father took over, and then her father like died untimely, and she kind of had to take over the reins. And love allowed her to put her own spin on the business and not just do it the way that grandpa did it. And that meeting with Howard kind of gave her the confidence to really embrace it and go all out and not think of it as a cheesy thing or too girly or whatever. So
it's wonderful in the book, and it talks about how she used it to engage employees too.
Yeah.
Is such a critical thing. It's just really wonderful. You know what? There were so many quotes in the book that I loved, and I have to share them because I don't know that everyone who's listening has read the book. And if you haven't read the book, you must read the book. Must read. Go and get it now. Said your business is not just about making a product or a service. That's a recipe for failure. If money's your only goal, you'll never be rich. Your limiting mindset is holding you where you are. You need to make, I love this one, you need to make big decisions with your heart and the little ones with your head. Crazy and passionate enough to have people follow you and be inspired by you. To me, the last two, I mean, they're all wonderful quotes. But what is the quote that resonates with you?
Well, I mean, I resonate with everything that I write. I wrote it. That's why I resonate. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there that I live by. It's why it came out as it came out, and it came out passionately. I think for the head versus heart, I think too many people, you know, make decisions, big decisions, by doing pros and cons and writing those things down. Like whatever side has more, that's what you're going to go with. Where the head can only understand the world that currently exists. And if we are, especially for the entrepreneurs, we want to create something new. Like we're not trying to create something that already exists. We're trying to create something new. But even if you're not an entrepreneur, if you're an executive, if you're, you know, you're just starting your career path, like you don't want to start your own business, you still want a unique life. Like there's only one Irene Becker, right? You don't want to live your mom's life. You don't want to live your brother's life. Like you want to live your life. So by very definition, it's unique. And so you have to do something that doesn't exist yet. You're building this unknown life. And so your heart can create that world. Your heart knows something and has the kind of imagination to go off and make something. It's like your soul
in a way, yeah.
Exactly. Your soul, heart, like gut, whatever you want to call it, all kind of similar. Where the head is just a practical, logical, you know, reasons for doing or not doing something. Where if you make a big decision, like if you're going to marry that person, or you're going to start that business, or you're going to move to that city, or you're going to go after that opportunity, it needs to be something that is passion fuel that you've made with your heart. And then your head figures out how to make it work. Like, I'm going to start a YouTube channel and have a big impact. Great. Does that make sense logically? No. Have you ever done a YouTube channel? No. Do you have any speaking experience? No. Do you know how to edit videos? No. Like on paper, you do your pros and cons. It's the worst idea ever. But I want to do it. Okay, great. So I'm going to do it. And then tell your brain, okay, this is what we're doing, brain. And then your brain figures out the steps on how to go out and do it. So you need both, but the big decisions you make with the heart, and then you leave your head to kind of figure out the steps of how to do it.
Okay.
So I think
now,
that's
how
important.
do you? Too, but how do you start doing that if you're not someone who makes the big decisions with your heart?
I think
it ties into your one word, Evan.
I think having the self-awareness to figure out what your one word is definitely the first step. But again, just because you found your one word, it doesn't mean you're going to live it. Like, just because your one word is and listen, your one word is always a positive thing. Like, I've never found somebody whose one word is death or hate or like some, kill. Like, it's always something positive. Like, people want to be good. People want to have a good life and to contribute. Like, it's fundamentally part of who we are. We don't always act it, but like, we want deeply to have meaning. So
contribute for sure, and to have meaning and purpose.
Sure. And so, but just because your one word is inspire, it doesn't mean you're going to actually be inspired every day. Your mindset, your limiting beliefs, and not maybe about you, but like in general, your habits, like the people that you have around you, so it's easy to stay where you are without changing your environment. So the first step is understanding, like, there's more. Here's what's more. Like, here's what I want. Here's what I stand for. And then if you're not doing it, then it's thinking back to your environment, to your routines, to like, if reading Irene's blog gets you feeling inspired every day, read the blog every day. Like, start the day on Irene's blog. It's like, we've all had these moments. Even the person who's down on their life and everything sucks and they can't take any action, like, even them, we've all had these moments of boldness, of courageousness, of feeling unstoppable, of happiness, of joy. Like, we've all had these moments. It may not be consistent, which is our goal to get there, but we've all had these moments. And so whatever the thing was that got you feeling bold, don't wait for it randomly to happen on a Thursday afternoon. Plan that into your daily routine. So you start your day with that thing. So you start your day feeling bold. And there's no judgment over what it is. Like, it could be watching my video. It could be reading Irene's blog. It could be taking your cat out to the balcony and hugging him in the sun. Like, it doesn't matter. It's like,
special
whatever.
to you.
Exactly. Like, these pictures mean nothing to people, but they mean something to me. It's not about this. There's no one picture. There's no one routine. It's finding the thing that makes you feel your one word every day. And so you have felt alive in the past. There's nobody I've met who's never felt alive ever at any point in their life, period. Right? No matter how dark, an existence you have had happy moments. So what was it that triggered that happiness? And now how do we put that into our daily routine, into our environment, so you have that consistently happening for you? And it allows people who are in
so you could be the life coach.
I could be, I guess. I mean, what I do is applicable to people's lives. But, I always see the world through entrepreneurship. And so that's what I try to focus on. But yeah, like, if you never want to start a business, but your one word is family, if you are not connected to family somehow on a daily basis, you're going to be pretty upset. Like, you're going to feel depressed. You're going to feel blue. So what is that? Is it calling your mom every morning? Is it, like, what's the thing that makes you come alive? Is it making writing a note to somebody in your family? Is it doing an act of kindness for somebody? Like, again, there's no judgment here. If throwing a toy Smurf doll up and down in the air, like, makes you feel like a kid again, and that's the thing that gets you pumped up in the morning, great. Like, go and do that. And don't play small because somebody else thinks that what you're doing is stupid. Like, if that's what you need to do to get feeling happiness and value and get your day off right, then just go and do that. I mean, as long as it's not harming somebody, right? Like, you're not going up to somebody and laughing at them or throwing water in their
Starting
face or
your day
something.
the right way is critical. And you know what? I think for entrepreneurs, it might be easier to think back about that pivotal moment, that bold moment. And there are people that think are more constrained, but even for them to think about their word becomes a pivotal step in self-awareness.
Yeah, and again, even for somebody who's not an entrepreneur, never wants to be and loves corporate life, or maybe hates corporate life but still doesn't want to start a business, they've had moments where they've been alive, when they felt fulfilled, when they've been truly happy. They've had moments, even if most of their life sucks, 360 days a year, like those 5 days you were happy, you were doing something. So what was it? What triggered it? And then putting that into your daily routine, and then you'll have more of them. And that's the goal, is even if it was only 5 out of 365 last year, I want to make that 365 this year, right? I'm going to put that into my daily routine.
From a business, oh yeah, and from a business perspective, in terms of your brand and your story, it's very important also. A whole other discussion, but it is. I mean, it fits both halves, and I think, Evan, we're looking at a new era where there is a new currency of success. And it's fulfillment, it's satisfaction, it's contribution. Right now, I mean, 8 years ago, the World Health Organization forecasted that stress and depression would be the #1 cause of disability in the world by 2030. Now they're saying 2020. Saying people need to find their one word.
Yeah. It gives you the path. And yeah. You
had a bit in there about your anti-word too. And I thought that was so brilliant.
Yeah, so some people find their one word by going positive. It's how I found mine. It's all the good things in your life. As I started coaching people and working through the process with some entrepreneurs, they couldn't find it. Like, they had a really hard time figuring out what it was that they stood for. And so I had a hard time understanding that, because it was so easy for me to find it that way. And then one of the guys I was working with said, you know what, I found it by going negative. He just thought of all the, and so I put in the book, like, you think about all the negative things that you just don't like, all the people that you don't want to be around ever again, that boss that you hate, that, you know, Aunt Susie who just drives you nuts, you know, those high school bully you had growing up. And it's not that any of these people are bad people. They just have something in them that is toxic to you. So if your one word is you know, inspire, then people who are putting somebody else down, is going to be really hard for you to listen to. It's like telling, like, you can't do that. You can't do that, Irene. You can't do a blog. Like, you know, it's not that they're a bad person. Maybe they're just super risk adverse, or maybe they face some fear and they didn't have success, and so they don't want to see you get hurt. But like, that kind of thinking for you would be just visceral. It's like, I can't stand that. Like, my hairs are sticking up thinking about that.
Well, I have to tell you, many years ago, Evan, I had a business partner who said that a woman could know business than a monkey could.
Wow.
And I took it to market saturation in Canada. But I'll never forget him saying that and thinking, oh, this isn't a good sign.
Yeah. And
I'm going to do it.
I bet if you talked about, like, inspired to him, he'd be like, Irene, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. It's great. Like, we shouldn't be business partners, right? Like, it's great. You go off and do your thing. You're just not going to be with me. And so if you look at the negative people, your boss, schoolmates, family members, and then again, just like write down who they are, and then write down a couple words about them that you don't like. And again, they're not bad people. Just there's some things about them that you don't like. And you'll find commonalities between that. Like, what's the common thread between Aunt Susie and that former boss or that former business partner? And you'll see it's this, and you circle it, and then that's your anti-word. That's the thing you can't stand. And then the opposite is going to be your one word, what you do stand for. Because if you stand for something, you stand against something, just by the definition. And so if you figure out what you stand against, then it's easier to find what you stand for if you can't go the positive route. So it's another way, another trick, another hack, another exercise to figure out your core value.
So in a perfect world, how would you like your book to grow in terms of its readership? Who would you like to be reading it?
You know, I think the book is most valuable for entrepreneurs, but I think it's helpful for everybody. When I did my test audience. I gave it to 30 people in Toronto, and half of them were not entrepreneurs and half of them were. And the half who weren't, just to get perspective, the half who weren't loved it. And they said, this really made me think about my work. It made me think about my life. It made me think about my husband or my wife or my kids. And so they may not be able to relate to the marketing content or the hiring content or, you know, some of the operations business stuff, but it was still valuable. Because I think if you are a human being, you have a core value. And so figuring that out could be like the most important exercise you ever do in your life. And
That's
so
right.
I would love for
Everyone
people,
should read your book, Evan.
Yeah, well, I agree. You're trying to make that happen. Time and place.
I'd love to make it happen. Listen, I'll put a poster up. It's a great book.
I'm
a kind person. I'm a truthful person, Evan, but I'm straight up. If I didn't think it was a good book, I wouldn't have reached out and said, this is a brilliant book, Evan.
Oh, I know. Irene tells it like it is. I know. No, and I appreciate your support, and a lot of it's been organic too. It's like somebody picked it up and then they tell their friends or their coach and they share it with their friends, and it grows that way as well. You know, the best growth that's come from it is from people actually doing it. Like they actually read the book, right? They read the book and they actually think about it, and then they realize, holy cow, this isn't just some stupid exercise. Like this is life-changing. And then they want to share it and they want to tell their friends about it. And that's how the most success has come. And so what we're trying to do is the best job is supporting the people who've bought it, answering questions, you know, making sure they read it. I'd much rather have one person buy one copy and read it and do something about it than somebody buy 100 copies that just sit on the shelf. Right? I think a lot of authors would say that, like, you want your book to actually have an impact and reach people. It's not just about hitting numbers of sold. And that one person will tell 5, and if those 5 read it, they'll tell another 5, and it just continues to expand from there. So,
in a sense, and on a personal sense, in terms of where we are societally, and the whole depression stress factor, and the fact that people are losing grip, your book, I mean, it has to be read.
I appreciate you saying that. I agree. What can I say?
And you know, you could take it like from a business point of view. There was great stuff there too, in terms of engaging your people and developing your brand, and that was terrific also.
Yeah, and
so
that
the book is a win-win.
What I've done, but also then from what other businesses have done. The goal was that this is why we have the range from 50,000, 500,000, million, 5 million, 150 million. Like no matter where you are, there's somebody that you can learn from. Right? If you're learning hiring, the $50,000 guy hiring his first person is different than the $150 million company who has, you know, a huge team. But the goal was no matter where you are in your life cycle, if you want to build a business, no matter what size you're at now, unless you're over $150 million in revenue already, you know, most people aren't, then there's somebody that you can learn from in the book, and the lessons are applicable.
For sure. And your channel is so brilliant in terms of that. I mean, it's just wonderful. It's a phenomenal resource. I heard that you have 600,000 subscribers.
We just crossed 850 today, so it's growing.
Kidding. Oh my gosh, I'm behind the times, Evan.
Yeah, the goal is 1 million by the end of the year, so we're getting there. We're getting there.
That's really wonderful. I got to do Evan once a week on my blog. I'm serious. It's just so tremendous on so many levels. And what I found really interesting too is, I mean, not only are you the man who helps entrepreneurs, but you're kind of a bridge between entrepreneurs and large brands too. Fascinating thing also.
Yeah, I mean, from that perspective, most brands I don't work with because they don't line up with the value, right? Like they want to sell their whatever services, which I understand, but you have to want to believe in entrepreneurs. Where if they're just like, hey, we believe in entrepreneurs, but we're trying to sell our new whatever. Like, no, that's not going to be a fit for what we do on this channel. And I think what's important too is, you know, the fact that you love the content, that you want to make a weekly post, you want to do these interviews. It's humbling, it's flattering, and it's also shows the importance of that this works. Like, I want that for you. I want people to read your stuff and feel the same way and want to do a weekly Irene because of the content that's coming out. And everybody who reads the book, right? Like that's the level of impact. All I've done to get here, to get people who want to do that, is just follow the rules that are in there, right? I've just done it.
But I think what you said about reading the book is really very important, because today we live in an ADD world, and a lot of people just read the headline or buy the book and put it on the shelf. And this book is, and again and again and again.
I hope so. We're trying to make something timeless, so I appreciate
No. I
feedback.
know so, Evan. It's really, it's a huge contribution on so many levels. It really is. If you had to give your, I mean, you've been such a successful entrepreneur. Oh, I have to tell you something, though, about entrepreneurship. Many years ago in the late 80s, I did the first consulting on entrepreneurship for one of the big 5 banks. And I remember, of course, there were no women, Evan.
Yeah.
50-year-old men in the same color suit with the same color tie. And they said, our market isn't entrepreneurs. Is there a market in that? It's funny, changing times. It's going to be more and more of a market as we see organizations change and become more entrepreneurial too. Also is another reason for your book.
The guy behind me,
entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs.
The guy behind me on the wall there, next to my parents, is the founder of Bank of America, and he was the guy who first gave immigrants loans. Where they said that immigrants they don't have money. We can't lend money to immigrants. And he said, no, like, immigrants are hardworking. They're worth giving money to. And he was on the board of a bank, and he got so frustrated with them that they wouldn't do it. They only wanted to lend money to already successful people, that he opened up his first bank across the street from the original bank and said, I'm lending money to immigrants. And he lent money to entrepreneurs. He lent money to Walt Disney when nobody would give him money, because a full-length cartoon, like, who's going to watch a cartoon that's a full-length feature film? No, that's a stupid idea. You know, so he bet on those guys. He's the believe banker. Like, that's why he's up on my wall.
Great.
So yeah, it's a good story. Anyway, cool. I know our time is short, but for people who want to learn more about what you're doing in this blog and like when it's all coming out, what's the process for people?
Well, you can find me on Twitter and Just Coach It. You can email me at irene@justcoachit.com. I'm passionate about helping people really thrive in the face of change, challenges, and ability and strength in ways that take us forward in this era. Because change isn't the problem, it's the answer. And we all have the ability to change in ways that will help us not only find our one word, engage our purpose, but collaborate with others, which is the way forward.
I love it. I love it. And when is the blog coming out?
I usually write it on Wednesdays, but I don't know. I might have a special piece before.
Oh, special piece.
I'm thinking of doing it more frequently. My blog just won another, it's won many awards, and I was actually really surprised and thrilled because I won an award for being one of the top 200 inspiring and influential writers on the net. And you know what, Evan? I never thought that people were actually reading my articles, only because people are so distracted. And the thought that I could have helped someone is just really wonderful.
You got to keep on inspiring people. Keep on inspiring, Irene. I love it. Well, thank you for the time today. Thank you guys for watching as well. Hope you have an amazing weekend. Continue to believe, and we'll see you soon.
Tired.
I love it.
Evan.